Hey guys, Nick coming to you with another Infinity Kingdom video. This one and this week we are going to touch on a subject or an element at least that I have not given a lot of time. If you watch some of my previous video, I don't think water immortals are very strong, very good at the moment, but I do understand that there's a lot of players that are using water. Why? First, when you start a game, I think the game itself gears or pull you towards water. First, you have the first recharge bundle. If you recharge any amount, you get a free Merlin. So this by itself, and the fact that the first immortal you get is actually a water immortal, a lot of players are going to keep that, and they are going to upgrade their water team that the game provide them as they go. By the time they start improving the water, they get stronger. Their team, the water march gets stronger. The water immortal gets stronger. They get to a point where they don't want to change anymore because their water is so much stronger. They've grown to like it, and that is okay. I'm not forcing you to change. What I do think though is if you want to change, and I do think it's the best thing to do for most players, there are ways to do it. But if you don't want to change, it's up to you. It's your game. It's your team. So that's why this week we are going to start on talking about water. It's going to be maybe 2 or 3 videos on water, 2 this week, 1 next week, maybe 2. We'll see. But I think the main issue when it comes to water becomes who you actually pair your team with. So we'll start by talking about the front row this week. And personally, I think the best option is going to be Ragnar. For sure, he is the best immortal in the front row for your water team. He is actually a very decent immortal as a whole. You can even put Ragnar in other marches. But when you start a game, he is a lot harder to get. He is a King of the Hill immortal. You need to do the battle pass, the golden pass to obtain him quite easily. But it's not for everybody. He's not for everybody. And he's going to be later on in the game. But keep in mind that he is still the best option for front row water immortal. In my opinion, it comes down to 3 immortal because you need 1 more. You have Arad, Attila, and Ramesses. What we're going to do is I'm going to give you what I think is the best within these 3 right away. And that's Attila. Attila we're going to touch on next week. But then what happened is if you do use Attila and you cannot get Ragnar right from the start, you need to pick one between Harald and Ramesses. This is important right from the start. You need to decide which one you're going to go. And this is why we're going to do a video today on Ramesses, video next few days on Arad. Let's go right ahead with Ramesses. It's going to be more cons than pros because I don't think he is the option you want to go to. I'm going to tell you why. And if you have max Ramesses by now already, you don't want to gravitate away from him because, example, he's maxed out and even his specialization is maxed out. It makes sense for you to keep using him. Maybe at some point move him to your second team. But even if you want to keep him in your first team, it is an option. It is something you can do for sure. And there are ways to make it better. So let's start with a few cons. Well, he is water. So as I mentioned, I'm not a fan. I don't think water is the best element. So for me, that's a con. He is also Spearman. That is a con as well, especially early game, especially for free-to-play low spender. You don't want to focus on 4 academy researches type of troops. You want to focus on as little as possible. If you put Spearman, you can see all the other water front row are going to be different than Spearman. He is the only front row Spearman, immortal in the waters element. By the way, I will do a academy research video because I've been asked frequently to upgrade or give you a good path when it comes to the academy. It's going to be coming out this week as well. But let's get back to the topic of Ramesses. So two cons in the element and the spear type, a spearman troop type. But then you also have how you unlock them and how you max them. You're going to need to get lucky to get Ramesses or buy the bundles for Ramesses. That's the first thing that you need to be careful of. He is not free or harder to max. If you get lucky or if you buy him, doesn't matter. Once he's unlocked, he is going to be in the market, but not as a full immortal. Here, I want you to take here to notice two things, right? You see Alex, you see Attila, both available for 60p, so a full immortal, 60 fragment at 3.03%. You don't see Ramesses. Then you go down, you see Ramsey here at 2.78, but you also see Alex and you also see Attila at 278. And spoiler alert, because we're going to talk about him in this video, you also see Julius Caesar at 278, same amount, same percentage. If you go back up, Julius is also like Alex and Attila, available as a full immortal. Right? We're going to come back to it soon. So that is the con. The fact that you need to pay out the same amount of gems to max your Ramesses because he's only available by gems, only 5 and 10 shards at a time, not that frequent in the market. You're gonna end up paying the same amount for Ramsey that you would for Alex. Alex is at the top of the tier list. Ramsey is at the bottom of the tier list. You end up paying the same amount. You're losing out. Then you're going to go to the skill itself. But before we go to skill, let's take a quick peek at the artifact because that is the pro and a con. When it comes to the skill itself, what it does, it's, in my opinion, a con. It is decent at 10%, but when you look at the skill as a whole, with the plus 10%, it becomes a con. But the pro is that it's really easy to obtain and max. If you look at Ramesses, he is going to be in the box. So these boxes are easy to get. You're going to be able to get this Ramesses artifact quite easily and max it quite easily. That is a pro. But let's go back to the skill now. So Ramesses is an attack immortal. Attack immortal means that his base physical defense, magical defense, is going to be lower and his attack is going to be higher. That is just how tanks versus attack works, right? But then when you look at his skill, you see that he only deals 330% damage. That is not high. Why? Because he also has a debuff. In my opinion, the debuff is the best part of Ramesses. But at the same time, although it's 100% because you can see there's no percent chance trigger, that means it's 100% by default. Otherwise, it would have said something about a percentage. The reduced amount is 25% plus that 10% from the artifact, so 35%. 35% is decent as a debuff, but this is where it becomes tricky for Ramesses. He has a debuff 35%, which is not too bad, decent enough in my opinion, but the attack damage is really low. So that means even though he's an attack immortal, you should really use him as a debuffer. You shouldn't really use him as an attack immortal, but he is attack. And this is where Julius Caesar comes into play. Julius, again, Oli, in my opinion, already better than Water, a lot better. Oli is decent, very good element. Spearman, not good, but the same as Ramesses. He's also Spearman. So if you have already invested in Spearman technology in your academy, you have Ramesses that is also Spearman. And the reason Julius, the reason I'm talking about him is I do think Julius is a better immortal than Ramesses that do something similar. First of all, like I said, he's defense. So his base stats on the defense going to be higher than Ramesses. But then when you look at his skill with the artifact, and that is, I'm going to do a spotlight on Julius soon, okay? Because I do think he's a decent immortal. But this is to compare with Ramesses here. With 100% chance of disarming, you can see that the disarm debuff is 30%. So that's only 5% less than Ramesses. And he is going to affect the highest attack and the highest magical. In most teams, that's already enough. You don't need to do more than 2 immortal. If there's 2 carry doing physical damage, then this will lose some of its effectiveness, but not all that much. It's still very good when it comes to only hitting 2. That's not a problem. He does less damage, but that's the point. He's a tank immortal. His debuff is about the same or so. He does less, but he's going to survive a lot longer than Ramesses. Ramesses being an attack immortal, because the debuff is so good, almost if not better than Julius Caesar, his attack is low. That's why his attack is low. This is also why you shouldn't use Ramesses as an attack immortal, even if he is. So this is why I think if you have Ramesses at the moment, he's maxed out. You don't want to switch out of him. You want to keep using him. You can, you should, but you need to change how you use him. If you're using him as an attack immortal, you have a skill like Blade Vortex, you have Dead Breath, you have Time to Shine, you have a skill that do damage, you need to switch away from it. Give those skills to somebody else. Make your Ramesses utility based. Use his debuff instead. So what that means is, first specialization, move away from the first 2 and go to Whirling Shock. Because you're going to turn him into utility, you don't need the extra damage. You don't need the extra crit. Go to Whirling Shock. You're going to get some damage out of him based off the fact that he's an attack immortal, and his base stats is going to be higher when it comes to attack damage. Don't double down on damage for Ramsey. Only do the specialization because you're forced to choose one of the 3. And the third one, the last one, is going to be the best option in this case. And then you equip him with skills that's going to allow him to become a debuffer or a support to your main carry, which is probably going to be Merlin in your Water March. What I mean by these type of skill is going to be aura. So example, Berserk. It can be Grace, like Oaken Guard, Resist. Energy Suppression is going to be very good on Ramsey. Vitality Touch could be an option. Purification can also be an option. Again, the aura can be options too. But I think the best skill for Ramsey is going to be something like Art of Kana. It's going to allow you Merlin to do more damage. You can put that on your Ramsey. And something in Energy Shield. Energy Shield is very good as a whole. It's a very top tier skill. It does not have to be on a support or a tank. You can put it on attack immortal. There's no position limit. So you could put it on your Ramsey. It's going to make your Ramsey more utility based, which I think he should be. So this was it for Ramesses Spotlight. Although I'm not a fan of him, if you have already maxed him, just switch away from trying to damage with him. Use him as a utility. So next week, not next week, next video coming very soon, we are going to touch on Arad and why I think he would be a better option than Ramesses if you start the game and you still have the choice between the 2. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope it was a little bit more informative for you water player, and see you in the next video, guys.